situation, and the information that we were receiving from the Department of Water Resources was that things were stable, that the erosion that they were concerned about with the primary spillway, which, as you know, was damaged a couple of days ago, was under control. They were releasing water from that spillway in an effort to get the lake level down, but water was also being released from what is termed the alternative or emergency spillway, which, as you know, is unprecedented. That had never happened before. And that, of course, was a potentially dangerous situation, because you have water that is going down stream that could have debris, and it was something that we were watching very carefully and trying to determine what the best course of action was. Today, at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock, I was advised, public safety professionals who are working in conjunction with each other to monitor the situation were advised that a hole had developed near the face of the alternative/emergency spillway, and that the water, which was coming over it, was causing erosion to go back towards the face of the alternate/emergency spillway. At that time, the rate in which that erosion was occurring was alarmingly quick. And the concern that was expressed to us by the Department of Water Resources was that if it eroded back to the face of the alternate emergency spillway, they didn't have a model for that. That wasn't something that had been contemplated when the dam was built, and they couldn't tell me with any degree of certainty how long or what effect that would have on the face of the spillway. If it would damage the spillway, how long it would take, and it became apparent based on the discussions that there was the possibility of a significant or catastrophic failure of the alternate/emergency spillway. Now, I want to make it clear that the dam was not in jeopardy. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that emergency spillway that has been used for the first time now. We all understand that? Now, that put myself and my public safety partners into a very, very difficult position, because they couldn't tell me what the effect would be. They couldn't tell me how long it would be, and it was the prospect of a significant amount of water being released into the lower, into the valley and into Oroville and all of those areas to the south. If we had waited to see if it stabilized, if we had waited to see if the spillway would hold, we would have given up valuable hours. And that's what we were talking about, folks. They were telling us that we had hours to get people to safety. And so I made probably the most difficult and challenging decision in my tenure as sheriff. But I did so because I wanted to protect my community. I couldn't run the risk that if there was a failure and water washed into the valley, I wouldn't have been able to get people out, and it would have jeopardized thousands and thousands of lives. Certainly it's not something that I wanted to do, I can assure you that. It is, I recognize how much chaos that has created. I recognize how many people have been displaced. I recognize the impact. But if I didn't do anything and we were wrong, it would have been potentially much, much worse. Now, since we ordered that evacuation, and I want to tell you that I have been in contact with my counterparts in Yuba, and we've talked with Sutter to make sure that they're aware, because there's a flow of water coming down, right? They too are taking steps to protect their community. Since this has happened, we've got a briefing just before I came here. And in that briefing, what we were told by Department of Water Resources engineers and experts is that the rate of erosion on that hole that we were talking about is not as fast as what they feared it would be. That's a good thing, okay? So the rate of erosion is slow. Secondly, Department of Water Resources, recognizing the significant threat to public safety, made the decision to begin to release 100,000 cubic feet per second of water down the standard or traditional spillway, the one that was damaged, in order to more rapidly reduce the level of the lake and relieve the pressure on the alternate emergency spillway. That's a good thing as well, and I'm told that that is having a positive effect. We were just told before we came here that the level of the lake that is currently going over the alternate emergency spillway is about 2 inches. And we're hoping that within an hour or so, it will drop below that, which will result in that spillway not having water go over it, and that will reduce the likelihood of continued erosion. But they need to continue to release water to create capacity within the lake, because we are expecting storms to come in the coming week, and there needs to be room in the lake to deal with the inflow. So they're going to continue to do that. In addition to that, a plan is being formulated to bring helicopters in to lift bags, I believe 1,000-pound bags of rock over the area where the erosion was occurring and place those bags into the crevice in order to prevent further erosion in the future. I understand, and I'm not an expert, folks, that's not my expertise, that this is a solution that has been used to fix levee breaches, and so there's some promise that that might work. You might ask, how long am I going to keep this evacuation order in place? And the answer to that question right now is I don't know. I need to be assured that even though the situation may be stabilizing, the threat of a catastrophic failure may be decreasing. Until I can be assured that that won't happen in the future, I need to continue to keep people safe. We have another briefing at 9 p.m. I'm hoping to go back to the command center and get an update on what's going on and where things are at, so that perhaps I can provide some additional information as to when people might be able to return to their homes. I can absolutely assure you it's my sincerest hope that I can get you all back to your home safely. But it was more important to me to keep you alive, and that's why we did what we did. I'll make one last point, and then I'll turn it over to the chief. My understanding is that the amount of water that the downstream river and levee system can handle is 150 cubic feet per second. At the release rate of 100,000 cubic feet. Oh, I misspoke. I'm all new to this, guys. I just learned what a cubic foot per second was 3 days ago. Okay. My understanding is that the system can accommodate 150,000 cubic feet per second, and they're releasing 100,000.
Okay,
And that is in an effort to mitigate any danger of flooding downstream. And so we're in a very tense, uncertain, rapidly developing situation, trying to make the absolute best decisions we can that are in the interest of public safety. And there's a lot of people that are trying to figure this whole thing out, my public safety partners and I included. We are now in a joint and unified command with CAL FIRE. I have been guaranteed the support of my counterparts of the California Highway Patrol, California State Parks. I have been contacted by the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, who've committed their full resources, and I am confident that resources are coming. I hope we don't need them. And if we don't, then I'll apologize and let everybody go back to their house. But until then, we need to keep it up. Chief?